Alrighty, we are back with the second round of our Team Challenge Qualifier, where we are playing Lucario and Melmetal. Again, we are matched up in the second round against ADP Zacian. This one does not have hammers, so I'm actually feeling way better. We're both 1-1 going into this round, and I'm feeling pretty good. I know the ADP matchup with Lucario and Melmetal. I'm feeling really good that if I can prevent them from getting an ultimate ray off, we are going to win the match. If you want to see my Lucario and Melmetal list, it is in the description down below, so check that out, and hopefully we can get a win here in this second round of our Team Challenge Qualifier. Okay, in our first matchup here against Kane. Second round, we are officially both 1-0. I end up winning the coin flip again. Super important, in my opinion, against this ADP matchup, because I really do not want Aegislash and Palkia to be able to go first. We end up drawing the Zacian, which is okay, because it's actually really nice to have. We want to be intrepid sorting generally on our first turn always. We don't really have any other energy acceleration. So the ability to throw down the Lillie's Pokédoll, manually attach an energy, attach the Metal Goggles just in case, and then Intrepid Sword to fill our hand up and potentially accelerate some Metal Energy is actually huge. Here we do accelerate one Metal Energy, putting us one energy away from a Brave Blade if we are able to do it next turn. If he doesn't bench anything, that would be a knockout. He does have the Tag Call in his hand, though. These Aegislash Palkia decks pretty much always focus themselves around having that turn one Aegislash and Palkia at least on the bench or in the active slot. So he's able to get that with the Tag Call and is going to attach a water energy manually, throw down the balloon, and I'm assuming he's just going to retreat here because he wants to get out of the active. He's thinking one manual attachment away from a Brave Blade is not something super nice. He does have the boss's orders to bring up the Lillie's Pokédoll. Interesting move there. And then he's just going to Intrepid Sword stuff. I'm guessing the idea is that he can just Lillie's Pokédoll something away. We have a hand here. We have all the Metal Energy. We have the Quick Ball, so if we want, we can go and get our Lucario and Melmetal right away. I'm kind of thinking, even though I could deal some really nice damage to this ADP, that if I can just get out Lucario and Melmetal, maybe start attaching energy to that, if he's even able to alter creation next turn, I'm then able to put the Lillie's Pokédoll on the bottom of my deck and Full Metal Wall GX the next turn and still be very close. So I think what I'm probably going to end up doing here, we want to try and draw some cards first, but we are thinking, I think we're thinking about attaching to the Lucario and Melmetal. We'll put one of the Marnies in the deck and are in the graveyard, draw 3 cards. We do get the Power Plant. Super huge getting the Power Plant here because my opponent is playing, I can't remember exactly, but he's playing a number of Dedennes. He's playing Mawile GXs. I think he's playing more Mawiles than my last opponent, so he's playing, I think, a couple Mawiles, or 2 or 3 Mawiles, because he's not playing Hammers, so he has some room in his deck for some of the other more important cards that ADP plays. So being able to put away the abilities of the Mawile GX, the Dedenne GX, is super huge to get that down on the second turn of the game. We get another Quick Ball here. I'm thinking about playing it. I think what I'm thinking is another Zacian. We already have one pretty well built up, and we do want to Intrepid Sword this turn. We're going to Intrepid Sword with the other one and attach. I think if I had gone back, I remember this being somewhat problematic because I think we might get Marnied here or something kind of iffy comes up where we have 3 Pokemon on our bench that are 1 to 2 energies away from being able to do the thing they want to do. Yeah, so he throws down the Mawile. I think he may have completely forgotten about the Power Plant, which is back-to-back turns that probably happened. He doesn't even really get to look at my hand, but then he just altered creations. We find another Power Plant off the top. We have the Tag Call. I'm thinking probably with the Tag Call, I'm going to go want to get either, we don't really need the Guzma Hala. I'm guessing probably I'm going to want a Cynthia Caitlin or even a Mallow and Lana. So maybe Cynthia Caitlin, Mallow Lana. That seems reasonable. I'm considering the Guzma Hala here just to get, and really what that would be is just to get another Metal Goggles, because the ability to limit the Zacian's Brave Blades as much as possible is a big deal here. I'd hate for the Zacian to get a hit on a non-metal goggled Zacian V, and then my Zacian would be wiped out, because obviously the 30 damage reduction of my full metal wall is negated by the 30 damage boost of my opponent's altered creation, meaning that Brave Blades are going to kill unless I have something attached. So I do end up going and getting the Guzma Hala. I'm not feeling a lot of pressure, so I think I actually, at this turn, I just Guzma Hala to make sure that I have, I'm very smooth on my energy. I've already got 2 of the Coating Metal Energies in my hand, but I'm able to go get the Metal Goggles. I'm able to go get another Coating Metal Energy, and there's no more Stadiums in my deck. It looks like I've prized one of my Power Plants. I have one in the graveyard, one on the field, so not too worried. I think my opponent's playing only 1 Chaotic Swell in their list, so nothing too much to worry about there. We are going to attach the goggles to the other Zacian, I think, and switch in the Lucario and Melmetal, and we're going to go for the full metal wall. I'm debating here. I'm debating where the goggles go. I think because the Zacians are such a priority, and I need to be switching those back and forth to be hitting every single turn, that the metal goggles on the Zacian makes sense. I'm not too worried. It would take, especially because, and the big thing here is I think my opponent, even if they are playing 1 Intrepid Sword, which I can't remember if they are, they've already attached the balloon to their Zacian. So if they wanted to potentially 1-hit KO for 260 damage, my Lucario and Melmetal, they would have to somehow put down a new Zacian with the Intrepid Sword and start powering that up, or they would have to Tool Scrapper away their own balloon. And if they're playing Tool Scrapper, which again, I'm not sure, it was a few days ago, can't remember if it's even in their list. If they want to Tool Scrapper, they're going to want to go after both of my metal goggles. So here we see the Metal Saucer onto the Mawile, energy switch to the ADP, then an manual attachment to the ADP. He's 1 water energy away from being able to ultimate Ray, but he's just going to have to switch into the Mawile, and Zacian is just going to Intrepid Sword. We top deck the boss right there, and I'm trying to think if there's any way that I can boss up that Zacian and hit it with the with a Brave Blade. It's not looking like that's possible, because the Lucario Melmetal does have a retreat cost of 3. It's a not very nimble Pokemon. Takes a lot of it to move out of the active spot, so if we had to attach to the Lucario Melmetal, then we wouldn't have enough energy to attach with the Brave Blade. So I'm thinking here potentially could boss up the ADP and soften it up with a Steel Fist. Doing that 50 damage to it would put it within KO range of a Brave Blade. But it looks like here I'm just going to try and draw some cards, maybe draw like a Switch or something like that. We get rid of 1 Metal Energy, probably grab the Marnie here in case we want to shuffle this, or not shuffle, but put this hand on the bottom of the deck. But really nice here off the top, we rip a Switch, and it's looking like we're just going to be able to switch into the Zacian V for a big Brave Blade knockout on this Mawile. Again, thinking how I want to play this out, considering the slow roller, we're so far ahead of our opponent right now, but, if he does find that water energy, could be problematic. We end up actually not going for the switch, just Steel Fisting here to accelerate energy onto our Lucario and Melmetal. This does put us, 1 energy attachment away from being able to just knock out the Mawile with our Lucario and Melmetal. But we have the boss's orders. I think maybe what we're doing, again, we're just slow rolling it, just playing it really slow. Our opponent knows that their Dedenes are useless, so they have to Pokemon communication that way. I'm guessing next turn I'm going to be looking for the possible even like manual retreat to save my Switch, but going into the Zacian and probably bossing up one of their Zacians as well. There goes the the Rusted Sword. I keep calling it the Intrepid Sword. The Rusted Sword onto the Zacian. So if I'm able to get rid of that Zacian, he will not have the Rusted Sword. He's not going to be able to be one hit KOing any of my Pokemon with the Zacian if that thing goes away. He does Intrepid Sword here to draw out some more cards. We rip a Metal Saucer, which is actually pretty huge for us because it's going to mean that we are going to have 2 Zacians powered up by the end of this turn. I think what I'm looking at here is actually just manually retreating to get some energy into the graveyard, which I already have one in there, so I guess it's not a big deal. But I want to save my Switch because what I want to be able to do is knock out with Zacian this turn, you know, boss up their own Zacian, knock out with one of my Zacians, and then doing the same thing next turn, essentially, retreating into my second fully powered Zacian and bossing up their other Zacian. So we're looking here at, you know, something like a boss game, something along those lines. You take the knockout there on the Zacian, grab a Switch, which is beautiful because that means that we're going to now have 3 turns in a row of Brave Blading with all these switches. My opponent, even if they put a water energy on here, an Ultimate Ray, really all they're doing is just giving me a Pokemon to boss up and knock out with my new Zacian on the bench. So we'll have to see what he does. Marnie here could be kind of problematic if my opponent was able to have a Marnie. That would be pretty annoying. But they actually just go with the Professor's Research, throwing away this huge hand, leaving themselves, you know, with only 21 cards in the deck after this. They're really digging for that water energy. I think they're playing 3 water energies. They can't find it again. They end up air ballooning. They've only got 1 water energy in the graveyard. They might have 1 or 2 water energies prized, you know, not really sure, but they don't really have a good way of searching out water energy right now. They actually just have to manually attach the Metal Energy to the Zacian on the bench. However, as we can see with my hand, he has no way to manipulate my hand right now unless he, you know, for some reason, I don't think he's playing a reset stamp. So that Zacian that he just powered up is not long for this world. We grab another Metal Energy, which is going to be convenient for the purposes of retreating our Zacians and still having them close to 3 Metal Energies for their Brave Blade. But we're just going to boss up their Zacian and knock that bad boy out with a brand new Brave Blade. So far we've bossed Brave Blade, bossed Brave Blade. Do we potentially boss Brave Blade again? Is our opponent even going to let us get that far? We'll see. We rip a... There's the boss right there. The infamous... If he does not Marnie me here, we're looking at the infamous boss game. He's got the Marnie, though. Of course he does. Much necessary Marnie for my opponent, because that would have been... I think it would have been incredibly frustrating to be boss. My opponent doesn't get what they need off their deck, and they end up just having to surrender. We take a nice, comfortable, easy win there. However, going into the next game, Cade, my opponent, is choosing to go first, which the ADPs like to do. So we're potentially in a more, tougher spot here, as we saw in the last video. The ADP, when they get to go first, they were able to just have all that important tempo and beat me in that last game. So this one, I'm going to try and be, as conservative as possible to play things a little bit slower, not let them do what they want to do. He ends up starting the Zamazenta, which is useful because he knows I play the Metal Coating Energy to knock that off. Otherwise, Zamazenta is not really doing anything in this matchup. We end up Zacianing here. We have a couple of them in our starting hand, and it's looking like we're going to Guzma Hala. I think I actually make a mistake here. It is nice here that we are able to Guzma and Hala again on pretty much the first turn. We're going to be able to get the power plant up. We're going to be able to smooth over our energy. And I'm debating what I want to get away here. I think I actually get rid of the Metal Energy because I have the Metal Saucer and I can accelerate that onto my Zacian. I think this might also be a mistake. I probably should have actually just thrown away the Marnie and the other Zacian. Knowing I have 4 Zacians, it's not a problem for it to go, and I wanted to have that energy in hand to make sure I'm attaching each turn. And actually, what this does, not so smartly, is it's going to mean that I end up putting a special energy on my Lucario and Melmetal that is in the active slot. And what's annoying about that is that the Zamazenta on my opponent's side, if he is able to attach 3 energy, he is able to attack me for 130, which ends up being only 100. with the Metal Goggles attached. And most importantly, he gets to discard one of my special energies. So I actually put myself in quite the awkward spot here. Thankfully, I am able to accelerate. And then another problem here is that if he is able to get rid of that Metal Saucer that's attached, it's not the type of metal energy that you can accelerate, or the Coating Metal Energy that's attached, it's not the type of energy that you can accelerate from the graveyard with a Metal Saucer. So that's, kind of, again, in a weird spot. He is able to, on the second turn, get out his Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia with a Quick Ball. He ends up retreating into the Zamazenta, and he is going to attach and Metal Saucer, and I'm guessing he probably has the Switch, and he just gets rid of my Coating Metal Energy right away, and I'm feeling a little bit like a fool. I'm feeling a little bit like I misplayed. I didn't play everything out the way I should have. And honestly, I did. Honestly, this is, not a smart play, but part of it is the whole point of especially recording these and watching through them. That's most valuable for me, is that I get to review, some of my mistakes here. I do take 100 damage because I'm a little bit of reduced damage from the Metal Goggles, which means it is going to take 3 of those Assault Tackles to knock me out. We do have the Tag Call, though. We ripped that off the top of the deck. Or did we get that with a Zacian last turn? I can't remember exactly. But it's looking like we're going to be Tag Calling. I think what I end up going for is actually getting a healthy Lucario and Melmetal, because I need to figure out how to Full Metal Wall at some point. I mean, this Zamazenta has a ton of damage, a ton of energy on it. The Zacian, or the ADP at some point, is going to want to Altered Creation. What we end up going for is actually not using Tag Call at all. We end up playing the Zacian on the bench and then Marnieing, which is kind of interesting. We grab a couple Metal Goggles, so we're going to have full set of Metal Goggles on all of our boys, and we end up to just having to Intrepid Sword this turn. Gets us a third Zacian and a couple Lillie's Pokédolls. So we're just not doing anything, right? Which is kind of problematic, but at least in the Lucario and Melmetal deck, it is forgiving when you're not actually doing anything. So, we kind of have that going for us. We kind of just get to play it out, stall a little bit, see how it goes. This turn, my opponent is able to attach a Metal Energy. He still hasn't found that Water Energy, so we're feeling relatively safe from the Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia right now. We know that he's looking to Altered Creation, though, and we need to be ready when he alters creations to Full Metal Wall those energies away, because if he's able to Ultimate Ray, that puts us a little bit behind the 8 ball. Everything that we are able to do in stalling out our opponent, tanking a ton of damage, not dying, is kind of all for naught if he's able to hit us for a big 180 or 150 attack, whatever it ends up being, and then attaching 3 Metal Energies to the Zacian. He ends up going for the Cherish Ball here, which I think he just probably grabs another Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia just to thin his deck out. I mean, all of his other useful GX Mons are negated. Their abilities are negated by the Power Plant that I have down and was able to get down on the first turn. I think just a huge, crucial matchup. And really, throughout this whole tournament, a very crucial card, as we'll see in future matchups, was that Power Plant card. He actually just goes for the Dedenne. Again, I think he's just thinning it out, or always looking for something to communicate away. Presumably going to get another Zacian. I don't know what he's in his deck he really could need right now. Oh, he goes for the Crobat. Oh, that makes a ton of sense, actually. So here's his one Crobat. This is his one Drawmon that's actually going to be turned on this game. He's going to have to Crobat V here, Crobat for 4, unless he's able to, get his hand down a little bit. I think actually what he's trying to do is figure out exactly how he wants to use the rest of his hand and how many cards he wants to draw. I think there is a card that he potentially maybe uses suboptimally here, just to thin his deck hand down a little bit. No, he actually just goes for the Crobat for 4. You could see he was definitely thinking, though. He probably had some cards in his hand that he could play in a somewhat suboptimal fashion. Energy Spinner here for the Water Energy. I think this is questionable, because it's really relying on me not having a Marnie. And unfortunately for my opponent, I do have a Marnie. I've gotten rid of like 1 or 2 Marnies this game, so it's reasonable for him to think that we might not have another Marnie. We, however, obviously know that we do. We're going to throw down these Lillie Poké I think we're even thinking potentially about throwing down the Zacian. I don't know if that's the smartest move. Actually, we're just going to go for Lucario and Melmetal. We know that we need to, at some point, full Metal Wall GX, and we're going to need a healthy Lucario and Melmetal to do that. So I'm thinking here, this helps us. We thin our deck out a little bit. We get to play down the Lucario and Melmetal. It does stuff our bench full, but obviously looking at what's in our deck, we know that all we have is one Zacian that's in our hand, one Zamazenta that's in the deck. Really what we have on the bench, we're not too worried about stuffing our bench. Oh, we actually decide to throw him back in the deck? Interesting. Probably not what I would have done in hindsight, but it is what it is at this point, right? We do end up finding the one energy we need here, which is going to allow us to Brave Blade into the Zamazenta V. Just double checking the language on that, making sure that it only prevents the damage from VMAX. It does only prevent VMAX damage. And perfectly here, we're going to be able to Brave Blade 230, removing all energy except the one metal energy on the Aegislash V on the bench. We've limited our opponent to 4 cards in their hand. We know they're down at least one energy spinner. We put that water energy back on the bottom. We know that there's one energy within the bottom 7 cards of their deck. They're playing limited water energies, so realistically, we're happy to get a knockout, draw 2 cards, and we're not too scared of the ADP being able to alter creation next turn. He throws up the free retreater in the Zamazenta, draws his card for his turn. He actually has the water energy, and he's going to be able to altered creation GX this turn, and we don't have any way right now to remove that those energy. We're looking at a Lucario and Melmetal right now that that has 200 damage on it and doesn't have any energies attached. So we need to figure out how to attach 2 energies. I think just looking at my hand, what I'm kind of thinking is we could Tag Call, grab the Lucario, Melmetal, thin our deck, probably potentially thin our deck with a Quick Ball, and then Professor's Research for a Metal Saucer. However, we just rip that Metal Saucer right off the top of the deck, meaning that if we go and get ourselves a fresh Lucario and Melmetal, which I think is probably the smartest thing to do, we're just going to be able to attach Metal Energy, Metal Saucer, a second Metal Energy onto our Lucario and Melmetal, retreat or switch into that bad boy, and remove all energy from my opponent's side of the field. And they're going to be feeling... They have to be feeling the squeeze once they see this play coming down. I'm debating what the second card we want here is, the Mallow and Lana or the Cynthia and Caitlin. I'm thinking the Mallow and Lana because this means that we no longer have to Professor's Research our hand away. We can wait a turn on that, and we can switch the Zacian out of the active spot and preserve all the energy on it without having to, use a retreat to give up 2 energy in the retreating process with the Zacian. We thin out the Zamazenta, don't need that anymore. Attach that Coating Metal Energy, accelerate the energy using the Metal Saucer, and then we Mallow and Lana right into the Lucario and Melmetal and just put our opponent in the most compromising situation they can probably be in. There are multiple turns in this game. They've lost a ton of energy. They've used resources like Metal Saucer, and there goes, they've got 30 cards left in their deck, which is, a fair amount. That's half their deck left still. But they've used so many resources, and they're looking at a hand of 5 cards in a field that has no energy on it, where I have a fully powered Zacian on my bench, and a Lucario and Melmetal that's looking to accelerate energy on its own and deal some damage here. I mean, realistically, looking at this, all I would have to do is Steel Fist to soften up that Aegislash V, and even if he finds a water energy, even if he finds another energy and is looking to, beef up his Aegislash V, we just soften it up next turn, and then we go in with the Brave Blade the turn after that. It's an easy 2-hit knockout with the perfect math from the 50 plus 230 of the Brave Blade. He actually ends up Marnieing me into basically the nuts. He Marnies me straight up into the nuts. I think what we're probably looking at doing here... Oh, we even draw another switch. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. This is just looking at like a boss game right now. If he doesn't have another Marnie in that grip of 7 cards over there, that is just going to be game. Boss up, switch into our 3 energy Zacian Brave Blade to knock out the energy attached Zacian on his side of the bench. And again, if he does not playing any hand disruption, we simply have the nuts in our hand because we have the boss and we have the switch. We just switch into the Lillie's Pokédoll. Lillie's Pokédoll back to the bottom of the bench, move the Zacian, now able to attack back up to the active spot, and then boss up either the Crobat or the Zacian. As long as he plays, if he's unable to play a Marnie, unable to play a reset stamp, we have checkmate. You can see him contemplating. I can't remember if he actually lets me finish it. Finally, this late into the game, he does Power Plant, or he uses Chaotic Swell to get rid of my Power Plant. I mean, it's already done its damage. It's already stalled out the consistency of his deck, the card draw. He was able to Skyla, though, get, that. Unfortunately, unfortunately for him, I was personally very happy to see the Skyla because all of a sudden I'm like, cash money. He can't Marnie this turn. And I'm almost certain remembering his list, he does not have a reset stamp. So I'm thinking, as soon as that Skyla comes down, I'm thinking ball game. Ball game. Because he has no way to manipulate my hand anymore. No matter what he does on his turn, he can do whatever the heck he wants. He is not going to be able to prevent my boss switch victory. Ends up Metal Saucering. Oh, double Metal Saucering. Getting fancy over here. Yeah, just, even if I didn't have it this turn, he's just like running himself out of resources. I need one knockout. There's so many juicy targets sitting on his bench right now. Between the Crobat, between the Dedenne, between the Zacian. He's actually able to power up a Zacian. I hit him with the Well Played. Give your guesses right now. Who am I going to boss up? Who am I going to finish it with? The Crobat, the Dedenne, or the Zacian? Who is going to be the victim of my final Zacian attack? Looking like Crobat. Pick Crobat. You picked right there. We end up Brave Blading. That's the game. Boss in the first game, and then boss game for game in this one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you out. All right, as you can see, we were able to take the win, feeling really confident going into that matchup, having already beat ADP Hammers, facing the hammerless version, looking at my opponent's deck. Again, deck lists completely open. I was feeling very confident, as I mentioned earlier, that if I can prevent the Ultimate Ray, we're going to be fine. And my opponent was not able to effectively use their ADP Zacian, not able to charge up their Mons. And really, we played safe and we just handled them. That's a matchup I think Lucario and Melmetal should just dominate ADP. It's one of the few matchups that ADP is super weak against. So I was really happy to have that in my first 2 rounds. I'm now 2-0 in the qualifier. All I have to do is win one more, win and in. We are into the top 4. This tournament's cutting to a top 4. All I need to do is get to 3-0, 3-0 in a tie, 3-0 in a loss, 4-0. All of that will qualify me for the top 4 cut. So all I need to do is win one more. We have 2 more rounds in this tournament. It's a 4-round tournament. All we need to do is win one of the next 2, and we will top cut and try and play ourselves onto our team qualifier team at Game Vault El Paso. We'll be back with the next video coming shortly. If you want to see more, feel free to subscribe, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.